Here's Neil.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the THC Show, and thank you for joining in. My name is Neil Magnuson. I'm your host. This is like our 225th show or something like that in the series.
26.
And on the show today, of course, will be 8 out of 10 Glenn from Canamatch.ca. We'll do a little bit about the CSP here and away. And there's just a couple other things to cover today, so it won't be too long a show. As we have been since the beginning of the show, some 224 episodes long ago, this is the quest for low barrier access storefront cannabis store. Something that is not allowed with the Cannabis Act and the laws in Canada, and something that is completely reprehensible and fails to meet the mark of what legalization was supposed to be. Legalization in Canada, in case you're not familiar with it, or in case you think we've got real legalization here and we should all be happy and shouting from the rooftops that we won, is little different than what it was before so-called legalization. Although, granted, your average or regular consumer is not at risk of arrest as they were before. But certainly those people that don't have licenses from the government cartel, they're subject to even harsher penalties and even more enforcement dollars thrown in that direction than before we had this so-called legalization. And the worst part of it all, I mean, there's a couple of them, but mostly it's the prices, because Trudeau, the head of the cartel in Canada, he needs to take $1 a gram, apparently, to pay for his high-flying lifestyle or whatever else he's using that money for. I'm not sure what he's using that money for. But that money doesn't belong to him. That money belongs to the people of Canada. And the ones that need it the most are the ones that it should be available to. And those are the ones that need to use cannabis, and good quality cannabis, on a daily basis for medical issues, to try to get off of hard drugs, for whatever it is. He does not deserve $1 a gram. We sell cannabis here for $1 a gram, and that's still too much money for the consumer, in my opinion, but comparatively to what we've been dealing with for the last 100 years and what we're still dealing with this fake legalization, that's a hell of a good start. And probably it's where the federal government should start. Instead of taking $1 a gram, they should make sure that there's good quality cannabis available to people at $1 a gram. And far less than that, because there's 454 grams in a pound, and we don't pay $454 for a pound of any type of fruit, vegetable, herb, whatever farmers grow. And in the case of cannabis, it can be grown as cheaply and cheaper than just about anything else that's out there. Of course, I'm not wanting to ignore the fact that there are people who are connoisseur growers that are growing under controlled conditions with expensive equipment and paying people large dollars to trim and package and all the rest of it. And there's a place in the marketplace for fairly expensive cannabis. There's a good demographic of people willing, and in some cases even wanting, to pay fairly large amounts for the cannabis that they're getting. But that's not what the government's concern should be. The government's concern should be reasonableness. It should be reasonable access. And reasonable access would say the government doesn't deserve a cut. There is no justification for taxes at any level to deal with cannabis. The only warnings that need to be there can be put there by the retailers or the manufacturers on the packaging that simply states that concentrates, including and especially edibles, can cause greenouts, but not death. It is absolutely a good substitute for those things that can cause all kinds of hardship, and including death. And we are now in the 8th year of a public health emergency of overdose and death caused by government and medical policies that can be addressed with especially the higher dose edibles, because it's the barrier of withdrawal that keeps people addicted and seeking those other risky drugs. Withdrawal is very difficult to get through, and the cannabis edibles makes it a lot easier. And in fact, we have 270 members of the Cannabis Substitution Program here that'll tell you that it's the edibles that got them off of the hard drugs. The mantra amongst many of them is that cannabis saved their life. Not only does it provide with a safer alternative, in fact, a safe alternative to those other risky, deadly drugs, but it betters people's lives in a whole bunch of ways. It's not safer because it's not dangerous at all. Other than, like I mentioned, you can green out on the concentrates in the edibles. You can't even really green out on cannabis flower, smoking cannabis. You can't smoke too much cannabis. You smoke a couple, 3 good joints of some of the better cannabis that's available, and that third or fourth one isn't going to do much for you. You're not going to get much higher than you already are. It's probably just a waste of money. Not going to cause you to green out for the most part. Might eventually cause you to take a snooze, but you're not going to pass out. And you're not going to fall and hit your head or anything like that. Smoked cannabis is relatively benign, requires 0 warnings for the most part, other than some intoxication could occur, or whatever else you want to call it. We call it intoxicated when you're consuming the poisonous alcohol, because that is what's happening there. With cannabis, it's much more of an enhancement of the senses, which can be a little bit debilitating for people who aren't used to that. But once you're used to the effects of cannabis, it doesn't typically impair people from driving, using heavy equipment, or just about anything else. Not true for the edibles. Don't be driving on edibles, especially if you're not used to them and then you're eating quite a bit of them. Edibles need to be respected. You need to start low, go slow, find the right dose, and then they can be extremely helpful for, as I said, getting through withdrawal, but also for a myriad of other medical conditions that people seek help with. Edibles can help a great deal with pain, with sleep, with eating, nausea, many things. It's been an absolute farce for all of this time that they would make it illegal. It was based completely on lies. And those lies were told because of an agenda of racism and profit seeking. Those 2 areas, for the most part, gave rise to one of the worst situations that this continent has ever witnessed. With millions of people having criminal records, and in many cases having their lives ruined because of arrests and prosecutions and seizures of even children. It's been horrible. You would think that because of all of the money spent and the use of the criminal law to try to prevent people to get access, that this would have ended a long time ago. But the money is too great, and the corruption is too deep. The government profits not just from corporate interests that pad their pockets to maintain these prohibitions, but it profits from people being drunk, angry, and stupid instead of enlightened and having their senses enhanced and sitting around and maybe thinking and talking about why we're paying taxes on certain things and why we're paying so much tax and what's the government doing with that money and why are we supporting wars around the world and why does our domestic problems take a second seat to external problems outside of our country. Happy to help with other people that need help around the world. I think that's a good thing for a country to do, but not at the expense of our own citizens. The indigenous file has been a terrible example of governments oppressing a peoples for no good reason other than to keep them down and to take what they want from them. This country, a country that I thought I should be able to be proud of, turns out is just as corrupt as everybody else. We learned that with the pandemic, and what Mr. Trudeau decided he had the power to do in this country. And we have certainly learned it with a government of public servants thinking that they can get away with maintaining control over nature's greatest gift to all of mankind through the criminal law and using our tax dollars against us. There never was any justification for prohibiting cannabis unless you believed the lies. But public servants are paid to not fall for lies, to do their due diligence, to be smarter than that. But instead they've been complicit all the way through, refusing to talk about it within the justice ministry, refusing to talk about it amongst cops who, each cop knows in their heart that this is wrong, that young person now in handcuffs in the back of their vehicle, about to get a criminal record to follow them through life, does not deserve that for a victimless crime, where not only did nobody get hurt, there was no possibility of anybody getting hurt, and there was no intention to harm anybody. In this country, a country whose laws originally were based in common law, that just can't be the case. You need to have your victim present in the courtroom. They need to prove that you knew you were going to hurt somebody. They need to prove that your intention was to do a crime that had a victim, and that would make you a criminal. But when the crime is having in your possession some plant matter of one of nature's greatest plants, a plant that you can't even fatally overdose on, unlike just about every other plant in nature, a plant that helps people. It helps them sleep, and it helps them with their mood, and it helps them with their pain. To use the criminal law against those people is itself a heinous crime. And it's been going on for over 100 years here in Canada. It's come close to being turned around in the past, but still the forces of greed and corruption are just too strong. We had the Ledane Commission that looked into it, spent a year and a half and millions of dollars having some of our best people come together and try to separate the bullshit from the truth. And they pretty much did. The conclusions of the Ledane Commission here in Canada were that there should be no criminal penalties or sanctions against people involved with cannabis, that the retail age should be about 16, and that cannabis doesn't make people stupid, violent, and insane. It makes them calm and relaxed, and in some cases a little bit hungry. Nothing that should ever have had the criminal law used to curtail. This has been a serious blight on Canada, North America, and the world for a long time. But it's also been a way to expose whether or not we truly are free, or if we're truly in charge, and what the role of our public servants really is. Ideally, the public servants should be that. That's why they're called that. We should be the masters. Each and every one of us, sovereign beings here in Canada, and around the world for that matter, although many of them aren't sovereign based on the dictators or the military rule or the juntas or the, all these different ways that some people take control of large masses of people. None of that has ever been right. No dictator, tyrant, king, pharaoh, nobody has the right, realistically, reasonably, to interfere with any other human being's pursuit of happiness and well-being. 419. That came fast, but probably right about the right time. I think I've said enough about it. This show is the quest for low barrier access cannabis stores, and that's what we're doing. 420 is right around the corner. We'll discuss it a little bit more with Glenn Wells, because Glenn Wells is my 420 clock. He's here at 420, helping me with the 420 session and beyond every week, and happy to have him. Come on in, Glenn.
All right.
You got your camera at the right angle,
Good
or do you think?
afternoon. Yeah, I'm on camera this week.
Well, you're the producer. You're the one
You gotta get it right,
gets
right?
to dictate the camera angles.
There we go.
So they don't sell as much cannabis as they thought they were gonna.
I know, eh? I wonder why. Eh?
Only $5 billion worth of cannabis has been sold here in Canada. About half of what they were expecting, and the $10 billion mark is what they were selling the stockholders on.
Oh,
the
really?
shareholders
They're going to
on,
double that money, eh?
That they're going to get a whole bunch of money back on that, and the marketplace just isn't supporting that.
No, because we know better.
Well, the prices are too high. The quality is suspect. The stores are sterile, and lots of people already had a good hookup.
Yeah.
And who you want to support? You want to support Trudeau getting his buck of grams so he can go on cruises and fly around the world like he's somebody special?
I'll go to the Tino.
Or do you want to spend a little bit of money for somebody who's risking a little bit by having a little bit of a grow room downstairs or whatever,
has a family that he has
and is trying to feed their family? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of people, they're not interested in supporting a government's fake legalization that profits the rich. They're interested in helping themselves out and helping their family and friends out, and those people that are willing to risk a little bit to bring good quality cannabis to the marketplace without the government interference. So, we'll see what the government wants to do, but I'll tell you what the answer is. Allow for low barrier access both from the consumer side and the supplier side.
Yeah.
Make it easy to get a license, if at all, to bring flower into the marketplace, and make it really easy for the people in the marketplace to get access to good quality cannabis at a reasonable price. For those who want to pay more in a fancy store, fine. And then maybe that cannabis is better to some degree because of the equipment that's used and the care that's taken and the expertise involved. But good quality cannabis can be grown outdoors. It can be grown in hybrid greenhouses, and it can be grown for similar prices to what other things are growing. So enough already.
Yeah, if we've got wine companies that can make wine, why can't we and we can make our own wine, why can't we grow our own weed and have companies that grow weed too, right? It should be the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
we can make our own beer, we can make our own wine, so why can't we make our own cannabis?
You can grow your own cannabis in most of the provinces, but only 4 plants.
Yeah.
And that's to make sure that you don't have enough to make any money off of it or to help yourself out a little bit. And I say if you're growing cannabis that people are willing to pay you money for, good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Does the government need a cut of that? Maybe. Maybe you could put it on your taxes that you got X amount of money for selling some of the cannabis that you grew. But it shouldn't be any type of an exorbitant amount at all.
No.
And as for cannabis that's available in the marketplace, no justification to tax that. That cannabis is helping people with their health and well-being. It should be tax-free. And it also helps people replace the use of many substances in our society that are hurting our society. So it should be incentivized, not taxed. 420, eh?
That's it.
Well,
I got mine lit.
I'm going to like this one.
Hey, Steve, how's it going? Steve says hello.
Is that Steve Nemi?
Steve Woodwise. But but Steve will be watching. We should thank him for his donation.
Well, that's what I was getting to, yeah.
On Saturday, yes.
Another nice donation from Steve. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Steve, because we share into his group, so.
Right. Well, I covered all of that.
Well, you're saying about growing outdoors.
Well, there's also the outdoor consumption sites that they're talking about allowing.
That's a good leeway.
Which would help, that would make it so a place could have an outdoor lounge to some degree.
Yeah.
No reason why you can't have an indoor lounge as well for cannabis.
Toronto had an outdoor lounge. That one on top of the building there near Church and Yonge or something like that.
The Hot Box Cafe had an outdoor section as well as an indoor section.
Yeah.
There's a number of them. That would be a help anyway, that we could have consumption places where people can join together in the consumption of cannabis.
And medical patients can be able to use it where they can't be able to use it in other people's residential places because there's a lot of landlords that don't allow that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're denying one of the main benefits of cannabis, and that's its social ability. The ability of cannabis to be a social tool that people use to communicate with each other, to have a good time together, to laugh a lot, and think about the insightful aspects of our world that we should be thinking about. Cannabis lounges promote that. Cannabis get-togethers promote that. And, when you look at the way the government rolled out legalization, you go, well, why wouldn't they allow for that? And And why can't people go into a store and actually see the cannabis they want to purchase and smell the cannabis they want to purchase?
You can do that with your
and all of those types of things. And the only conclusion one could come to, really, in looking at the way that the Cannabis Act was put together, is that they don't want it to succeed. They don't want cannabis to be a thing in our society. They don't want people using it to think about why we're paying taxes and why we're allowing governments to run roughshod over us. And so they've devised a scheme to make it difficult to get together, make it difficult to consume cannabis that's quality cannabis. And this is what we were fighting against, or at least we were fighting for a different version of legalization for all the time we were fighting for it. And we don't got it yet. And settling for what we have is going to be very, very bad for the generations to come. And that's why I'm not willing to do it. That's why a bunch of other people aren't willing to do it. And I hope you're not willing to do it either. Don't settle for this legalization in Canada. Don't allow it into your jurisdiction outside of Canada, wherever you are, where the government puts big fees and taxes on the cannabis. The retailers are allowed to only make like razor thin margins along with the producers, because most of the money is going to government or to other government insiders that get to provide packaging and other things. It's all just a scam to keep money flowing out of Canadians' pockets into government and corporations' pockets. And then the other side of it is, of course, as long as it's prohibited, all of the mechanisms of prohibition continue to be funded by taxpayers, and that's an enormous amount of money, and that's a terrible toll for Canadians to pay if they're caught in the middle of that by getting caught with more than 4 plants, or trying to sell somebody something or whatever. In the case of what we're doing here, sorry to ramble on.
That's right.
On a bit of a roll.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, of course. I should do my best to get it out. On a personal note, because of what we're doing with the Cannabis Substitution Program here and allowing low-cost and no-cost cannabis for people that need it, the government and the Crown, on behalf of the King, are spending upwards of $1 million on investigations and witnesses of policemen who are going to get on the stand and say, hey, they sold me some cannabis. Oh, that's a terrible thing. Was it bad cannabis, sir? Well, no, it was actually better cannabis than I've been getting in the cannabis stores. Oh, I didn't mean to admit that I'd been taking some of it. But, nobody's been harmed. We're into our 8th year now with the Cannabis Substitution Program, giving out copious amounts of flower and edibles for all of that time. For the last 3.5 years, 3 years and 8 months, we've been selling it because there's a whole bunch of people that won't come and get it for free and say, look at me, I'm an addict. And those people need access as well. So what we've been doing every day for all this time is just proving over and over and over again that cannabis is effective for getting people off of hard drugs. It's effective for helping people with their serious medical issues, and nobody is hurt in the process. So we demonstrate that on a daily basis, only to continue to find ourselves heading towards court dates in March and July,
next month,
where the government's going to continue to waste taxpayer money to try to punish me and prevent me from doing what we've been doing for all this time, and prevent all of these poor people who rely on us from getting access. It is totally disgusting, and that's the journey we're on. That's the tale that we're telling, and we'll continue to do so until we get some sort of a proper resolution, which can only be low barrier access community cannabis stores.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
Yeah.
I know a lot of other people want one too.
You want to own one.
I want to own one, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make this a proper business. I've always wanted to make this a proper business.
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be great business.
It's a great business. People love you.
People, yeah.
When you can, as a business owner, on
someone's face. Yeah.
As a business owner, whose objective would be to try to get cannabis to people with low barriers, which means low prices and all that goes along with that, and good quality cannabis at low prices. People love you.
Mm-hmm.
We get nothing but respect here and gratitude from the people that we help. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Your
on.
joint keep going up because
no, it's not out. It's not out.
I can see a little bit of smoke.
Oh yeah, it's still there. I just
got all those concentrates.
It's got all those concentrates. This one's got diamonds. This one's got diamonds in it now.
Yeah, I was smoking diamonds last night at the Bob Marley movie.
Well, you had some diamonds in the joint we shared at the hockey game.
Yeah, I had some diamonds.
So I thought, I got a bunch of diamonds. I should try that, and I'm liking it. I think they're really good. Actually,
they're nice, isn't it? Yeah,
they are very nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of the hockey game, we won't speak about last night's game. That wouldn't be telling the truth.
Wasn't it during the day that they played actually?
11 o'clock in the morning yesterday.
So
they played
morning's game.
Minnesota. So this is Vancouver Canucks. You know, the greatest team in the world.
Okay. One of the greatest teams in the world.
No. Wow. The greatest team in the world going into that game yesterday, and still on the other side of it, a solid 4 points ahead of anybody else for first place overall in the National Hockey League.
You can't win them all, right? You have to lose some.
Not going to win them all.
No.
But, it's a funny game.
They didn't have the best goalie in there. They had the Smith in there. So
I don't want to put it on to Smith, although he did not have a great game.
No, he didn't. Especially
not every goalie's going to have
10 goals.
Okay, we'll tell you. They let in, the team let in 10 goals. Casey only let in 8. But, it wasn't like they got dominated and played a lousy game. They made some mistakes. Even their top players made some mistakes. They took a bunch of penalties, and some of those penalties were phantom penalties.
Yeah.
And you can blame the refs for that, but many of them weren't phantom penalties, and you can't blame the refs.
And the refs were right on the penalties right from the beginning, man. I wow, there was a 2-man advantage.
No. That didn't happen until most of the way through the second period.
Was there one in the first period too?
No.
Oh.
Canucks were up 5-2.
Oh, wow.
I think they'd killed off 3 penalties. They'd had a couple of their own power plays. Yeah. It was just an ordinary game. The Canucks are playing their ordinary game. They're up 5-2. That's pretty much based on the run of the play. And then they got some penalties right at the end of the second period.
That did it.
So with less than a minute to go, with Minnesota on a 2-man advantage, they scored. So now it's 5-3. Now the Canucks are the only team in the NHL up until yesterday that had never relinquished a lead going into the third period. Anytime they're ahead in the game, they win the game going into the third period. Yeah.
And they lost.
Well, they got another penalty called right after or during the scoring of that goal at the end of the second period.
Yeah.
So now they're going into the third period, down 2 men again.
Wow.
4 times during the game they were down. They had to kill off long 2-man advantages for the other team. And so, boom, 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 boom. 5 goals in less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
Or just slightly over 5 minutes in the third period. And when you include that goal in the last minute of the second period, 6 goals in 5 minutes and 45 seconds.
Wow.
That is the 4th fastest to 6 goals in a game for any team in the history of the NHL.
Wow, eh? Just something like
Couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Just boom, boom, boom. Power play goals, one after the other. And going in off of skates, weird bounces.
One of those,
there was the one in the slot that Casey should have had for sure. I'm sure he wants that one back.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
So now it's 8-5.
Yeah.
And then the Canucks get another one back, and it's 8-6. And then they make it 8-7, but Minnesota scores into the empty net. So now it's 9-7. And then Minnesota scores with 1.5 seconds left into the empty net to give Kirill Kaprizov a hat trick.
Yeah.
The 3rd hat trick of the game, by the way. That hasn't happened in 26 years in the NHL.
Oh, jeez.
And now it's 10-7. So that's a one-off.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do against Colorado.
Tomorrow?
Tonight.
Oh, is it tonight?
Tonight, in an hour and a half, they face off against Colorado. I wouldn't want to be Colorado right now.
No, I don't think so either.
With Rick Tocchet as the coach, you can imagine that the Canucks are a little bit fired up.
Yeah.
To take this next game. And you never know. Colorado's a great team.
I would definitely say definitely fired up, yes.
A recent Stanley Cup winner, it can go either way. There's people saying, they can't beat the good teams. Well, that's not true. They beat the Rangers. They beat the Edmonton. They beat Edmonton 8-1 in the first game.
Yeah.
They've beaten some of the good teams for sure in this league.
They're saying that because of Boston and Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, we've lost to some of the good teams too, but the Canucks have only lost a dozen games.
Yeah.
Only 3 now regulation games in the last 19 games they played. So they're not losing a lot of games, but you're probably, if you're a really good team, you're not going to lose to the bad teams.
No.
the teams that aren't even going to make the playoffs and whatever. So if you're going to lose games, it's probably to those upper echelon teams because they're really good teams too.
That's why they're up there.
Yeah, you know,
Just like us.
Canucks right now are on top of the league, and,
Yeah.
and I get to say they're the best team in the world right now with the
Yeah.
best defenseman and probably the best goalie. And, you know, maybe not
The
the
best
best,
in North America.
but as a team,
yes.
well, no, the
Well, you
NHL
said-
is
you
better
said the
than,
wor-
than
well,
any
come
other
on.
league in the
What about
world.
the Swedes? Look where we're Swede.
You think the Swedish elite league is better than the National Hockey League?
At Sedin's, the
We
Twins.
get some of their best players over here
right?
in the
So I'm
NHL.
just saying, so if they're producing players like that. They
Oh,
must
there's
have
good
some
players all
hockey
around the
over there,
world
right?
being
Yeah.
produced, but
I
there's
don't
no
know.
league,
Yeah.
no league like the NHL.
Oh, really?
The
Okay.
NHL is made up of international players, mostly Canadian, a lot of
Yeah.
U.S., but
Yeah.
from all the rest of the world, the
Okay.
very best players, they all come here. They want to play here.
Okay.
They recognize the NHL as the best league in the world.
Yeah.
And right now, we've got the best defensemen, and we've got the best team based on their performance over the last 57 games.
Which
And it
is
actually
good.
goes back a little farther than that. They had a pretty good ending to last year as well. They've done really well under Rick Tocchet. They're a damn good team when they're playing with a good structure, and that's what Rick Tocchet did for them. That's what the change was, is they took that core group of really good players and they gave them the right structure to how to win games. And so now they're showing their stuff, and so I get to say that, which is really cool to say, but I'd love to say it when they're carrying the Stanley Cup around if that ever happens in my lifetime. I'm not counting on it. I don't believe it, but it might. And for right now, 57 games in, heading down the playoff stretch, they're the best team in hockey.
It's nice to be able to shoot the shit about sports and have some cannabis at the same time all at 420.
Yeah. Sorry about diverting to a hockey show for a few minutes there, but it's exciting for us here in Vancouver.
Other people don't know, right? They're watching across the country.
If you don't know,
Yeah.
Vancouver market for hockey is one of the most passionate markets for hockey and one of the most starved markets for hockey. Only had 3 appearances in the Stanley Cup final. We should have won the last one. We probably should have won the second one. Had no hope against Mike Bossy and the Islanders back, in those
then,
days.
yeah.
We lost 4 straight. We were in those games, but we lost 4 straight, and we weren't going to win that one. But, we've barely had a sniff. And we hold the record in the world, I believe, for the most futile sports team ever, because we went so many years with not achieving a 500 mark, winning as many games as we lost.
Yeah.
It's been really, really brutal for a passionate, hardcore fan that I used to be. It was really, really hard. Every year, having our team knocked out again, or not even make the playoffs again, was really, really hard. So we are a marketplace that is really starved for a win, for a cup win. And that's why it's so exciting that I'm willing to divert a little bit of this pot show to talk about, it.
Hey, so that's what cannabis does, right? It allows you to talk about almost anything, man. Like, we've talked about space, we've talked about sports, we've talked about all kinds of things. That's what it does.
We do, and that is the truth.
Today we were in a leather shop, the Leather Lodge or something like that. And the guy was doing a video about leather and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And I told him that I do videos and stuff like that. And I said, you just need a gimmick. He said, I said, maybe some cannabis and leather. He says, you know what? Sometimes he says, when I want to get creative with leather, I'll do an edible. I said, well, there's your gimmick right there. Edibles and leather.
We could use another pot TV show.
Yeah, and do leather artwork while you're on cannabis. And he goes, wow, thanks for the ideas, right? It's just not something to think about. So that's all you really need. We don't want to see another guy doing another leather video. We want a gimmick, right? So
that's really good.
Yeah, so
I gotta have a drink.
You gotta have a drink?
I gotta have a drink.
All right, vodka? Oh yeah, you got the vodka.
I mean, in fact, we diverged last week. If you didn't catch the show, you might want to go and watch it because it was primarily about my health issues, and I've been suffering from some pretty heavy health issues for the last year or more, and haven't been saying anything to anybody about it. And it just got too really obvious, I thought. I had to cancel like 3 out of 5 or 6 shows. And so I just thought I'd better tell the truth about what's going on there. So if you missed the show, there is a cancerous tumor in my esophagus. And I'm not taking any conventional treatment on that. I refuse that. I'll wait for AI to come up with better treatments than burning the shit out of me, poisoning the fuck out of me. Sorry, Annie Barbie, but this is serious. And then cutting me to the point where I wouldn't even have a voice. It's in behind my voice box, and they would take my voice box out, and they told me, well, you won't have a voice after surgery. They wanted to get right on that over a year ago, and in 5 weeks I would have had all that done, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. It would have been the end of the THC show unless I handed over to Glenn.
Yeah.
And that's that for that. But in the meantime, I'm not only holding bay at this point with all my scans showing zero increase. That's still not good, because it's something that prevents me from eating solid food for over a year and a half now, and was getting to the point where I couldn't even drink because it had maneuvered itself into a position in my throat that was preventing almost even liquid from going down. And so up until 3 weeks ago tomorrow, it was pretty dire, and I was going for a feeding tube. I've lost a whole bunch of weight. I'm only 124 pounds now. I was 160. And I just broke through somehow. Now, I didn't mention, and I don't want to belabor this point, and I didn't want to go on about this at all, but I have brought it up. It is in the public record now, and not everybody watches the show every week, so just a brief recap is what I'm doing. I talked about this cream, this topical that I'm putting on, that I have almost since the beginning, because the universe is a very interesting place, synchronistically. And shortly after I got the diagnosis, I had an indigenous healing woman brought into my space who told me about this cream that she had that would go deep into tissue and had pretty good success in dealing with cancers and arthritis and things. And so I said, wow, that's very interesting. I had a friend who's now passed away that used to make a cream like that as well, and it was the DMSO. Does this stuff have DMSO in it? She says, yes, it does. I said, well, that's really interesting. So I ordered some, and when it arrived, I went to pick it up, and the woman that makes it on the island that brought it over, she hadn't been here for 4 years thanks to the pandemic and stuff, is the ex-girlfriend, or the widow, if you will, of my good friend Mark Boyer, who was such a genius, and he created this topical, and he called it the Holy Anointing Oil. And here it is, the Holy Anointing Oil, still available. She's even improved on the formula a little bit over the years.
Well, that's good.
And she's carrying on Mark's legacy. And so I got to use that cream. And I've been putting that cream on there faithfully, every single day ever since. But what changed also about 3 weeks or a month ago was I decided to start using this cream that we have here that we get from Mary McCarty. Mary was our head baker here at the CSP in Vancouver for quite a while. We miss her so much. She was a force, man. She made things work so well here. We've followed in her footsteps quite a bit, and I've adopted some of her ways of making sure we have what we need, and so we're doing fine. But I still get my cream from Mary. I order it from her, and that cream has been incredible for people in healing up open sores, in taking away people's extremely painful joints and things. And so, I should be putting that on too. So I've now combined the two, so that Mary's cream gets deep into the tissue, as does this other, cannabis base that's in the Holy Anointing Oil. And so that's another thing that I added to my very long repertoire of tools and things that I'm using to try to deal with this thing and not let it grow out of control and kill me, like they told me that it would have done by now.
Should have done already by now.
Well, according to them. But you can't trust the Cancer Institute. No. That's another thing I should touch on a little bit. Very unhappy with those people. They're hell-bent on making sure you use their treatment because they get paid for their treatment. That's what they're trained for. That's what all their equipment is. That's what they're invested in. And they have gotten themselves a narrative and a mindset of just not endorsing anything that isn't cut, poison, and burn. Mm-hmm. And that's reprehensible because there are other ways of dealing with cannabis, and certainly with the full cancer. Sorry,
sorry, I had to correct you.
I'm glad you're here. Otherwise, I would have just I would have been out there and not ever corrected. Yeah. So no, there are other ways to deal with cancer. In fact, you can find so many other ways to deal with cancer, and I don't think most of them probably work properly. But I don't know. But I'm pretty sure some of them, if not a lot of them, work, if not completely, in partial ways. And when you add a whole bunch of them together, well, I'm having success, and I know a bunch of other people have had success, and they're probably should be support through the British Columbia cancer. It's not Jack Smith's cancer agency where he's only invested in this particular treatment. This is the British Columbia Cancer Treatment Center. And for those of us British Columbians who don't want to go the traditional route, that think there may be other ways, that know that so many people die from the treatment as opposed to the cancer that they were diagnosed with, etc., etc., there should be supports in some way for those people that want to go a different route.
We need a BC Cannabis and Cancer Center.
Something like that.
Right.
Or it needs to be incorporated.
But the Cancer Center probably won't allow that to exist because it is against everything that they're doing, and their millions and billions of dollars that they're getting, and they're going to say, we're going to quash these guys because they're going to take some fucking money from us.
And that's what they do.
Right?
That's exactly what they do.
Right. So
and talk about millions and billions.
Yeah.
The BC government is now spending billions of dollars to create another one of these radiation, chemo centers in the Okanagan.
Because they know cancer.
Should we really be investing in that archaic form of treatment when we have AI and advancements in both diagnosis and treatment are coming gangbusters down the track to help people?
Yeah.
Really, they need to rethink what they're doing with our money and how they're investing in a form of treatment that we really should probably be abandoning, in my opinion. But what do I know? I'm just a patient. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. But my mind, my reasoned, semi-logical mind, thinks that this is just wrong.
Have you started the fecal yet on your throat? No. Okay.
I don't want to make this whole show about that again.
No, I know.
But now that you brought that up,
right? Yeah,
I did try it.
Yeah.
I did it wrong.
Yeah, you did it wrong.
I used full-on THC instead of 4-to-1 CBD THC.
Yeah.
And I doubled it every day instead of doubling it every 5 days.
Yeah.
And within 21 days of doubling it every day, I was just so blasted all the time. My head felt like it was Humpty Dumpty's head.
Yeah.
And my brain still felt about this big, rolling around inside there, trying to figure out where it belonged. I couldn't sleep at night because of it. I couldn't function properly during the day. And so I just right out stopped. And then in the preceding days, I found out that I was doing it wrong. And I got from Corey Yellen, bless her heart. Hi, Corey, I love you, and I love the work that you do.
I think you should start again, though, and do it the proper way.
Because
I think
it depends what happens.
May shrink it.
It depends what happens.
Yeah, because it's not growing.
This thing's going away.
Yes.
This thing's going away one way or the other, whether I cough it up in a ball and spit it out, or whether it just shrinks into nothing and I go in for the scan and they say it's disappeared, which happens to lots of people, by the way. That stuff is effective, and I trust it and believe in it. But I would still like to stay on the course that I'm on, with whatever tweaks that I add here and there.
I'm thinking
until there's reason to take it even more seriously.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's my secret weapon in the back pocket. And that FECO has saved people and rid them of cancer when they were stage 4 throughout their bodies.
Yeah.
And I don't have any of that going on. Not mine. It's not fucking mine.
No.
It's there. What's there is confined to my esophagus. It has not breached the barrier into my wind tube. There is no other signs of it anywhere else, and that's maintained for the last year plus since the original diagnosis. I'm on the right track, I believe. One of the things I'm doing is vitamin C, but not your typical vitamin C, because that stuff doesn't really get used by your body very well. Most of the vitamins that you buy that are vitamin C, most of the vitamin C that's in things, your body uses about 5% of. The rest goes out with your urine. But calcium ascorbate vitamin C is a crystal powder, and that vitamin C can be used 100% by your body. And so I've been for 4 months, a little over 4 months now, consuming orange juice with calcium ascorbate in it, and we'll just see. This is not a process that happens overnight. It takes time, and as it turns out, the way it's looking over the last 3-4 weeks here, I'm winning, and I'm going to continue to win, and I will continue to give updates from time to time on the show about what's going on, because I know that's just the right thing to do.
And it's video proof for people.
But I don't want to belabor that, and as I said in the original show, I'm not looking for advice. I have a huge, amazing support network of the most brilliant people around me. You know, I named names last week to a degree, but you know, really, I have an excellent mindset or minds around me. I have excellent minds around me, and so what I really don't want. You see, one of the most important things when you're fighting anything like that is your disposition, is how you feel about things, what you believe about things. One only needs to look at placebo and nocebo to understand the power of the human mind. The human mind can cause you disease and it can heal disease. Any healing that happens usually happens because your mind believed in it, your mind got behind it, and used our extremely complicated, not well understood immune system to deal with it. It is the tool of the mind, and the mind is the key. So you want to keep a positive headspace. You all know my mantra is have as much fun as you can. Well, I didn't come up with that because cancer was in my throat. I came up with that years and years ago because of my understandings about having so little time in our lives that the only thing that matters is this moment. The past is gone. The present is undetermined, or the future is undetermined. The present is what we have right now. And we should feel good if we can. It helps our immune system to feel good. So a positive mindset is exactly what you need. It's exactly what I have. And I don't need a bunch of people coming and telling me how sorry they are for me and, you know, being all gloom and doom and all the rest of that. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help a thing. I'm now 67 years old. That's almost 70. I think that's pretty damn good. In my way of thinking, from the upbringing that I had, or at least the childhood and the young adulthood and even beyond that, you know, a pretty damn risky life in lots of ways. And I always thought if you get to 50, everything after that is bonus time. Yeah. So I got 17 years of bonus time, and it's been a great 17 years, let me tell you. Not happy on a core level that I have to fight what turned out to be corrupt government, you know, to get what we really need to have in the way of freedom for people. That bothers me a lot. But, you know, I don't let that be my driving or default mindset. It's there that drives some of my actions and behaviors. But mostly I'm just having as much fun as I can because this could be my last moment.
You never know.
And life is
mine too.
Anybody everywhere. Yep. You know, you never know if you got any more moments coming. You don't.
We're all headed for a headstone.
All of us.
Yep.
Well, maybe hard to say, Glenn.
Well,
hard to say now.
I don't think earn. Okay.
So I don't think that I'm in line anymore for what is possible. But they say that the person that's going to live 1,000 years is already been born.
Yeah.
The technologies and they're with AI to keep people alive. If you can be healthy long enough, who knows? Maybe they download your consciousness successfully into a new healthy android body of some sort that's all flesh and bone like us.
Have you heard about Elon Musk's Neuralink?
Yeah. That's sort of all.
He's already installed it in a human brain.
I know.
And the guy who's using it, he's a handicapped person, and he can do things.
So that one is designed to help the user control things from their brain.
Yeah, because
but it's also a step in the direction of having outside the user control a person's brains.
Yeah.
And so we're in an age of amazing technologies, and who knows what happens. I used to think when I was younger that maybe I had a chance to be on that curve if I could stay really healthy, you know, up until like now, and if I could get really rich, but that didn't happen either. You know, that I could maybe take advantage of these technologies and live a long time. I don't know if you want to live a long time, you know? May or may not be a good idea.
Yeah, well.
Because, for one thing, maybe it's you, but not your friends.
The shows we've seen, and they've said no.
You're going to watch a lot of people pass, but I've been watching a lot of people pass anyway. Yeah. And not all of them are passing from old age, and they shouldn't have gone yet.
No.
But as you get older, my mom is 91 years old. She just turned 91 on Friday. And now she's not doing very well at all, let me tell you. She had a little fall. She hit her head. She was in hospital for a day where they did scans, but they released her. Yeah. But she's extremely exhausted all of the time, sleeps most of the time. Was telling me she was in so much pain when I went to see her on Sunday. By Monday, she was still very sleepy like that, but she wasn't complaining of so much pain. So maybe it's the meds they're giving her that settled the pain down. I don't know. But, I saw a little meme, little cartoon, sometimes those things have so much power and so much truth in just a little thing. And it's this old guy, and he's obviously decrepit. And he's
obviously decrepit.
And he's sitting on the edge.
Old, you said you're old, so
I'm getting there.
Are you decrepit too?
If I took my shirt off and showed you what's going on here, my skinny, body with all my ribs, I look like a Biafran, for God's sake.
Especially if we were doing my.
Yeah, I need some of that.
There you go,
I got the skin rolls.
There you go. You want some of that?
But it's just skin there, My muscles here, I got skin hanging down that used to be filled with muscles. Thankfully, I've still got some muscles, and the body's not all that bad. It's lean and trim, I'll tell you. There's no extra fat.
No.
But, if you saw my body, maybe not with my face, because I think my face tells a different story. I think you can see it in my eyes, and you can see it in my face, that I still feel good, that I'm still young at heart. And so if I look up at you when you walk into the room, maybe you're going to think I'm not an old decrepit guy in a lot of pain, and I'm not. I'm dealing with something for the last year that's been not easy to deal with.
Yeah.
But I'm still having a lot of fun.
And you're still here.
I'm still keeping up with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's the test for me at this point.
That's for you, eh? Once that dies down, that's it. He's going to give up.
But anyway, they're taking a long time to talk about this. That old decrepit dude sitting on the hospital bed there with his doctor in front of him with his eyeglasses on his nose and his stethoscope and the white robe. And the guy just looks terrible. His arms are hanging, his face is hanging. He doesn't look good. And the doctor says, "You remember those years you saved by quitting smoking?" And so, well, these are them. You don't get to tack on a couple of years when you were 29.
No, you do. Yeah. Good afternoon, Douglas.
You get to keep on going. So. Not much else that I want to say, except that there was still some confusion after last week's show about baking soda and lemon juice.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
They are not equivalent.
No, okay.
I was under the impression that they were. I'm not sure who told me that. But I believed that they were the same thing, and you could either put baking soda into your water or lemon juice. I chose lemon juice.
It didn't work for you.
Well, they're not equivalent at all. They're on opposite ends. One is alkaline and one is acid. The human body operates around 7.4 pH, and it can't vary more than half a point on either side of that. And if your liver is healthy and functioning, it won't allow you to raise or lower your pH any more than a half a point below that average. Lemon juice is 3. So you're not going to raise your pH by using lemon juice. Baking soda is 9.5. So that is what you use if you want to raise your pH. And like I say, you can't raise it by much. Don't try, because too much baking soda you can overdose on. Typically not fatal, but also not fun. And so you can't spike stuff. I got a very little bit of baking soda in my water here, and this is already 9.6 to begin with.
For a pH level.
On a pH level. It says that on there. 9.5, sorry.
And that's not a filled up bottle. That's one that came sealed, right?
Yep, that was a sealed bottle, 9.5 pH in there, and I add just a little bit of baking soda.
Last week you were saying that there are some people that report that lemon juice has helped them. So we can't say that it just doesn't work. It just didn't
I don't know
work
who's reported that.
Oh, because other people have mentioned it to you, you said. Did you use it, right?
I've heard other people say that they think it's equivalent.
Yeah, or that it would help.
But not that, I've never heard anybody say I started using lemon juice and now, I'm so much better now.
Yeah.
I've not heard that.
Okay.
Although my friend Dan on the island, and this is probably where I got it from. My friend Dan on the island, he's a majorly healthy specimen.
Yeah, this is probably where we got it from.
Yeah, that's where I got. I know. I'm sure.
We were talking about Dan last week.
I mean, how I equivocated it with baking soda, I'm not sure. But Dan downs a very potent lemon juice cocktail every morning, and I thought, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Like, I am gung ho about this stuff. I'm very disciplined. And if this is going to work, damn it, I'm going to give it its best shot.
Yeah.
And that's why I never miss a day of cream on my throat, and I don't put anything sugar into my body except some of the juices that I'm mixing in my smoothies and drinking. It has still natural sugars, but that's still a high sugar content, and I'd probably be better off without it. But I cut all the rest of all the other sugar products and processed foods out of my diet. I don't eat any of that kind of stuff. I only drink anyway. Boost also has quite a bit of sugar, 16 grams of sugar.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't like that idea, but I do like the Boost.
Yeah.
So there's an alternative to Boost. There's Premier Protein. Looks similar, tastes similar, not as good. Well, of course it's not as good. It doesn't have as much sugar in it. I'm a sugar addict. But I don't know what to do at this point.
What about adding honey to it?
Well, honey is also a sugar.
But a better sugar for you.
Yeah, it is. But
right?
And I have added honey to some things.
Just like cane sugar is better for you, too.
So you're telling me to add it to the Premier Protein?
Yeah.
We'll see. It's all a journey of experimentation.
Because you're saying that the Boost is better because it's got more sugar in it. So
it tastes better.
Yeah. So if you've got something that doesn't have as much sugar, maybe you can add some natural
I think that's a great idea.
As a honey.
Yeah.
And then have it taste and be good.
Better than letting them do it at the factory where they put 16 spoonfuls into the damn thing.
Right?
No, absolutely great idea. I'll try that.
Try and put some honey in there.
Because right now I was sort of the point where, well, maybe I'll drink a couple of Boost and then I'll have one of the other ones, and I'll drink a couple of Boost and have one of the other ones.
Yeah.
Because I evolved out of my childhood with an eating disorder, and I haven't been able to solve it all through my life. And if I don't like something, my body rejects it. My throat rejects it. I can't even swallow it half the time if I don't like it, if it doesn't taste good or whatever. I can plug my nose and get some stuff down. It's stupid as hell. I should just grow up, give my head a shake and learn to deal with this stuff, and I might have to. But I haven't had to for my whole life. I've wanted to, and I've tried. But, I'm bad that way. So what I will do, and I know this is true, if I switch right away just to the other stuff, the premium protein, I will consume less of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what will happen. Yeah. I'll look at it and think about it and go, no. Whereas now, even after consuming probably 3,000 or more Boost containers over the last year and a half since I stopped being able to eat solid food, I still look at it and go, yeah, it's good. I like it. And I'll put it down there.
And it's saving your life.
It has been saving my life.
Yeah, because you're getting something down there, right?
I realized, a month ago when I was close to a feeding tube and not able to get hardly anything down, and the Boost was not going down, and my smoothie wasn't going down, and the vegetable juice wasn't going down. About the only thing that was going down was some water and just straight juice, because I guess of the viscosity of it. Yeah. But the other stuff was thick, and it would just sit there and then come back up. Yeah. So, in any case... that's what's going on, and that's what I do that way, and so hopefully, that's what I was going to say. So I learned during that time that I'm on a pretty tenuous balance here of maintaining just enough nutrition and calories to keep feeling good and keep being able to have energy during those times of the day when I'm up and doing things. I need a nap every afternoon, and that's my body healing itself. And sleep is important. I used to think that.
Old people did that all the time.
Yeah, before I knew what was going on.
I haven't got to that stage
I thought that's what was going on.
But next year I'm 60, so maybe it'll start.
Maybe. Well, naps are good anyway. Many of the
power naps are good for you.
Well, 20-minute naps in general. It depends. There's several different forms of naps.
Yeah.
An hour and a half is a good mark. 20 minutes is a good nap. Daydream is kind of like a power nap.
It is, eh? It's kind of like a power nap. Okay.
Well, it depends what you mean by daydream. If you sit there at your desk and you're gone, and you're just gone, and then you kind of go, whoa,
what was that?
Was that the boss coming? Did my phone ring? Then so anyway. Who knows? I'm not a sleep expert either.
Neither am I.
I am for myself. I know my journey of sleep.
But mind you, I've been listening to some sleeping music, and I've been noticing that I am sleeping better and I'm feeling better in the morning. And
I don't have trouble sleeping.
No.
I just that now I have to wake up regularly to get this saliva out of my mouth because that's what's happening all the time. Yeah. And that orange juice that I showed you there with the calcium ascorbate, Well, I'm taking 20 times the regular recommended daily dosage of it.
Oh, wow.
You know, and that's okay.
And what happens when you take more than what you're supposed to do?
The only side effect is diarrhea.
Okay. Well, no, I meant like you were about the oil, the story that you're telling, right? So maybe you shouldn't do more than what you're supposed to do.
Before I started on that vitamin C protocol, I looked into it, and it was being recommended to me that I use this product and that I use it to this extent, and that it wasn't dangerous, other than the diarrhea. So I take spoonfuls of concentrated electrolytes in my smoothie as well to compensate that. My oncologist has done blood work to determine that my electrolyte levels are up where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I'm still okay, and I've managed that. But I do have to get up, 3-4 times sometimes in the middle of the night.
Imodium.
No, I looked into Imodium. That stuff is full of nasty chemicals and nasty side effects. It's not good for a person to put that sort of stuff into your body.
Banana smoothie then, made with yogurt. That'll help clear that up. Yeah, because yogurt is a bacteria. That bacteria actually really does get your shit together, basically, in your body. It's been taught to me that way. So eating yogurt with a banana, because banana is good for that too, to make you a little harder stuff. So try that.
I'd have to blend it up.
Yeah, do it in the blender. Yeah.
But I put a full banana in every smoothie mix that I make too.
Okay, well, try a little bit of yogurt, because that's the bacteria that gets your shit together, basically. All right?
There's other probiotics in there, and actually the yogurt these days,
you need that bacteria that they use yogurt for.
Sold as probiotics for its bacterial content.
Yeah.
When you look into that, you find out that that's a bit of a scam too.
There's some.
There are some good ones.
There's some yogurt out there that's just yogurt. It's no unnatural stuff, and I keep seeing the commercial for it. Next time I see it, I'll send it to you. But yogurt.
We live in a dangerous world really when it comes to people telling you the truth about their stuff.
Yeah.
They will make all sorts of claims about their products, and they will not tell you about other stuff unless they have to, which they do with pharmaceutical medications that you're going to be asking your doctor for. They have to put in those commercials all those different hair loss and impotence and skin lesions and the other things that happen when you take that stuff. But for so much of the natural health food products, there's no regulations on what sort of things they have to tell you about. And what they do tell you about, you have to really take it all with a grain of salt.
You just have to just trust somebody that's used it and it's worked for them, and they can tell you their experience, and that's a better way of doing it.
Yes and no. I agree, having other people's anecdotes, if there's a lot of them, it really helps a lot.
Yeah.
But as I stated before, the mind is the most powerful healing tool or disease-giving tool. If your mind is not at ease, you can get disease. If your mind is at ease, you can cure disease. And so I've got really bright people, friends of mine, telling me opposite things about what works.
Yeah.
And you think for a minute, well, how can that be true? This person has had this kind of success with this, and this person says that stuff will kill you. Well, the reason is because their minds have been tuned to a narrative that fits what they're doing. And when you do stuff, it's a ritual. So when you take your pills, for example, and you go and get your cup of water and you get your pill holder and you take your pills out and you do your thing and you scratch off the date and all of that, that's a ritual. That's a ritual that enforces to your mind that you are doing this and this is going to heal you. And anything like that you do. When I put together the smoothie that I put together, and I put 20 different things in that smoothie, all of which are designed to help me and heal me, every part of that ritual of putting those things into that smoothie reinforces in my brain.
Yeah.
Every drink that I take of it is it's like a meditation. And if you do it right, it's a meditation where you're giving thanks. Yeah. You're feeling blessed that you have the ability to deal with this situation, and this is how you do it. And if your mind believes that, then your mind can make your physical situation.
Just like my son is learning that he's been having shakes from his seizure. He took the oil, he timed it. 5 minutes later, his shake was gone. So he's visually seen where he was and what it does for him. So now it helps him believe in what he's doing, and it'll help him make him healthier. And that's
the way to do it.
Yes.
That's the way to do it.
To see it, right?
To be able to test it.
Your brain knows it.
When you can test it in a way like that without your brain being involved so much, although it's impossible, then It's a better way to test it, and it's a good way to believe, right?
It's proof, right?
If the key is believing, then if you test things like that, and the test results show that this is true and this is going to work, then that helps reinforce your belief that it's going to work.
Yeah.
Even if it's
giving you
effect. Amazing stuff that has all of these healing properties. If for some reason you get your brain wrapped around the idea that this isn't going to work,
it's not going to work.
In many cases, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough of that stuff.
Yeah.
We covered these points. We'll go outside just for a couple minutes, but
all right.
I should do a little minute or two on the CSP.
Sure, I'll go back to producing.
I'd kind of like to get the show back on track a little bit.
We'll see you next week. All right.
Not just this show, but all the shows. I'd like to have them more back on track. We'll see what my health allows with respect to how long the shows can go.
We got court coming up soon.
The talking is laborious on my throat, and my throat, you can probably already hear the gruffness in my voice that's developed over the last year here. It does hurt to talk, and the more I talk, the more it hurts. So I can't really do a 2-hour show, even at an hour. Once the camera's off, it's like, I need to go be by myself and not talk anymore for a while. So I'm not going to be doing 2-hour shows until that clears up. And here's to clearing it up in fairly short order. We've already been quite a ways down the road here for sure. I had a good friend of mine tell me that he was sorry to tell me, but it's probably got to get worse before it gets better. I think I've been down that path and had that become reality. I am still nowhere near out of the woods, but I think I'm on a path where I can see daylight, and that's where we'll go with that. And why it's important is because I'm on a mission, in case you don't know. I've been on a mission for quite a while here. It was, let's see, it was sometime in August of 2004, so 20 years ago, where I'd already been an activist for several different causes, including legalization of cannabis, and was doing things to try to facilitate that. I was going and helping out at the 420 and Cannabis Day rallies and the Global Marijuana March, and I'd been doing that for 5 years or so. But it was in late August of 2004 that I really had this epiphany of understanding. David Malmo Levine had enrolled me along with him as a business partner to operate the Vancouver School of Drug War History and Organic Cultivation. We called it the Herb School. Thanks to Jack Herer and The Emperor Wears No Clothes and some filling in of the gaps by David, that I realized the truth about the horrendous attempt by governments to prohibit people from accessing this natural herbal medicine, including all of its industrial uses, and it was too much to take. I knew at that time, at that moment, with those tears, that I could no longer live my life as I had been. That I was going to dedicate my life to trying to stop this barbaric, unjustified, horrible, horrible attack on the freedom of myself, my son, my family, my community, my country, and my world. That I had to do something about that, and I was going to do everything I could to solve it. So that's been about 25 years. And we came a long way during those 25 years. There was the Freedom Tour that I went across Canada 4 times, the first 3 on rollerblades for much of it, meeting the Prime Minister in the end, but along the way, mayors and activists and police chiefs and media. There was all kinds of different things. We built 420, and I had a big hand in that. We built it to such a huge, huge event that the government had to do something. And so we end up with a third status political party decimated by corruption from previous administrations, not even of opposition status, run on a platform of complete legalization of cannabis. We never thought we'd see that. And there it was. So we embraced that. The next 420 was all about Justin Trudeau, and we put him on a pack of zigzag rolling papers, smoking a joint. And most of us, not Freddie, most of us believed that we were going to get legalization, that the fight was over, and that we could now step down, take the accolades and the thank yous and the medals and the statues or whatever it is that some of the people were fighting for. But we won. That's what we thought. That party took a majority government in that election, unseen or heard of in Canadian history. And especially when their main platform that year was to legalize cannabis for everybody. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and Freddie was pretty much right. Although the fight's not over yet, Freddie. I'm still here. We're still going to court. It ain't over yet. But this legalization that we got has resulted in hundreds and hundreds of government-licensed cannabis stores using product that all funnels through their provincial governments, with the federal government taking a cut off of everything, and every level of government taking their taxes, and other fees, and other restrictions, and other things that cost money, taking the profit right out of selling cannabis, taking the fun right out of selling cannabis, and excluding the very people that really needed that legal or needed proper legalization the most. So I can't stop fighting for what we've been fighting for and let this go as it is, with the world settling for what they think is a good deal because they can walk into a store and buy their $15 gram of cannabis. They can even probably get BC Bud in Jamaica or wherever else they're going to have these government stores. Jamaica's a tough jurisdiction, by the way. But anyway, apologize. But anyway, this model of legalization is being sold around the world because the big players in all of this, the licensed producers that are the big boys, they want the export market in Canada. They don't care about the domestic marketplace. There's huge dollars in selling into New Zealand and Germany and many other places around the world where they have medical freedom for using cannabis, strictly controlled by governments. You can walk into a store or you can order it, but you're paying right through the nose hundreds and hundreds of dollars for an ounce. Ludicrous, unacceptable, and out of reach for the poor people, for the people that really need it, the people that we should all be caring about, the only people we should really be caring about. The rich people, the middle class people, they're struggling a little, but I'm talking about the poor people. Middle class in our world means you got two cars, you got, both parties are working, but, you got the big screen TV, you're going out for dinner once a week or a couple times a month, and, you're putting good food on the table, and you can buy the kids Christmas gifts and all the rest of it. I'm talking about the poor people. Those amongst us, some of them invisible, some of them visible, that can't put a decent meal in front of their kids, that can't figure out how they're going to pay for all the things they need to pay for, and so some things don't get paid for. Those people are the ones we should care about. Everybody else is doing okay. We should really care about everybody's freedom, and that there be no oppression by these public servants, for sure. That should be an issue that we all take seriously and be diligent about. But for the most part, we want those public servants on our behalf to focus mostly on those of us that aren't doing so well, that weren't born with an advantage or suffered trauma that took the advantage away, or who knows what else. Lots of times, government oppression took away their ability to earn proper money. In the case of the public health emergency, which is this, addiction to opioids and other street drugs, that's all driven by government policy. They could end that tomorrow, except it might collapse some countries' economies, and there'd be a whole bunch of very, very unhappy drug lords, and including the pharmaceutical companies, and what have you. But they're the ones who built all of this, and that's something worth paying attention to. But other than that, you just need to figure out something that makes the world a better place, that gives you a little bit of juice. It gives you some energy and a gleam in your eye because you care. And when you're doing something positive about something you care about, well, that's real living. That's where the real juice of life is. And so there's lots of that to do, and we should be doing that. Meanwhile, the point of all this is that I couldn't quit because legalization came along, because of the type of legalization it was. I won't leave this legalization for the generations to come without doing my best to do something about it, like I've been doing for 25 years. I'm going to keep doing my best to get it right. We think we're on the right track. We'll find out coming up this year, I believe, because the right track, after all the other different active things that we've done to try to change the world, this track involved answering the overdose epidemic or the epidemic of overdose and death. Cannabis, as it turns out, in the form of the edibles, the higher dose edibles than what the government will sell, and that's another real big problem with legalization here in Canada, is they think that 10 milligrams of cannabis edible in a chocolate bar should be the maximum. And quite literally the opposite. When you're going to try to use cannabis, you want to start at 10 milligrams. That's about where you start, even 5. And then go up from there till you find the right level for you. But for almost nobody is it 5 or 10 milligrams per dose. For most people, it's probably 30 to 50. For the real sick people and the people that need it for all kinds of different things like pain and other things, it can be in the hundreds of milligrams per dose. So that's one of the things that's lacking in the government legalization, and it's one of the things that answers this overdose crisis. So early on in to this public health emergency, I went to City Council after going to Vandu, and we presented a clear plastic bag with half a dozen edibles, and I announced to City Council that this is the real safe supply. This is what we need to make real easily available to people, and then they can get off of those hard drugs, and they can replace the use of those hard drugs, and then they won't die. But it's been such an incredible and frustrating journey from there. I did not get any positivity from City Council that day. They didn't want to know nothing about it. They didn't want to talk about it. I lobbied them. I had a professional lobbyist lobby them for a couple of months after that. After that, no more time could be wasted. People were dying every day. I had gathered donations from my dispensary owner friends, and I went to Vandu and we started handing them out. And that started the Cannabis Substitution Program. We've now completed 7 years and we're into our 8th year. We have given out multiple tens of millions of milligrams of edibles to people during that time, and a fair tonnage of flour as well. And when we first started, there was no licenses to apply for. There was no legalization. As I said, I took it to City Council and begged them for support. I also presented it to the Vancouver Police Board and begged them to stay away, and they did. But we just started doing it. And it wasn't for 2.5 years after we were doing it every week that City Council finally got on board and passed a motion unanimously to support what we were doing. In consultation with City Council, rented a storefront right where we needed to have it, right close to Hastings in Maine or Wasting in Payne, and opened up a beautiful little store with all the things that people would need to help them out. High dose edibles up to thousands of milligrams, and all the quality concentrates and extracts and other things that people would need. But city licensing was not in concert with City Council. They didn't even know about the motion, and city licensing went ahead and threatened the landlord and threatened me, and they probably threatened the council as well, because when I went back and talked to Rebecca Bly about it, she said, yeah, we're going to have to follow Canada's lead on this. Okay. We didn't think we were going to get kicked out of the store. We didn't think we were going to have to stop doing what we were doing. We put together in a very timely fashion an extremely comprehensive application because we'd been doing it for almost 3.5 years by the time that application was put together. We had dozens and dozens of people write us letters of support, people that we had helped. We had hundreds of people that had gotten off the hard drugs. We had letters from doctors, Professor Zachary Walsh, Dr. M.J. Malloy. All the harm reduction groups thought we were the best thing going. We didn't have trouble putting together a pretty good application to Health Canada. Figured it was bulletproof. Well, they just delayed and stalled and made excuses and then said they were going to deny it and then said they were going to deny it again. And then eventually, just this last September, 3 years after we submitted it, they denied it. Because all of our cannabis doesn't come out of Trudeau's cartel and he's not getting his cut. So they're not going to allow for any of that. And our pricing is way too low. So their stores are going to lose profit. And the other reason, maybe more medical related, I mean, the first one's disgusting because this is Health Canada that is having these concerns. Not about the health and well-being of the people we're helping that need help, but of the health and well-being of the bottom line financial status of these licensed retailers and producers. Not to mention the cartels getting their cut. So they're going to deny it on that. And the other, semi-medical, not semi-medical, but just stupid reason that Health Canada thinks is enough to prevent us from having support in the way of a license to do this, in other words, we should stop doing this, is that they don't think that people are smart enough to be able to use the higher dose edibles without a brilliant doctor, signing off on it and guiding the way. And that's just completely stupid on a number of different levels. For one, doctors don't have a clue about the proper dosage of edibles for people because there is no proper dosage of edible for people. Everybody's different. As I mentioned before, some people 5 milligrams is enough, other people 1,000 milligrams isn't enough. Doctor can't tell you. All the doctor's going to tell you is start low and go slow. Let me know if you have any problems. I'll tell you to cut back a bit. That's all they can do. Certainly not necessary, and certainly not necessary as gatekeepers to people using edibles. Yeah, sure, now that we got legalization, you can grow your own and make your own edibles. Make them as potent as you want. But lots of people can't grow their own, wouldn't want to be tasked with having to make their own edibles, aren't chemists or pharmacists or people that could figure out what the right dosage and this and that without having the odd mishap here and there. Government's not concerned about any of that, mind you. Those people can do that. They don't care. There's no advertising campaign about be careful about how much edibles you make and take. Nothing like that.
We do.
Yeah, we do. But the government doesn't because the government doesn't care. That's not what they care about. What they care about is making money off of it and not getting criminally prosecuted for being evil, corrupt pieces of crap. That's what they care about. So that's all very disgusting. And we've just carrying on, despite all of that, for now over 7 years of helping these people. And I say these people because it's not all random people. We do get random people every day coming from outside of town and that just heard about us or whatever. But there is a core of a few hundred people that have been relying on us for a very long time here. And we know them. We've heard their stories because we listen to people here. We know their names. They know our names. They think we're like family to them. They count on us. And we think they're family for us. And we care about them. So to quit doing what we're doing is very cruel and unusual treatment of a already marginalized and persecuted segment of society, not to mention me and my staff. And it's just not doable. So, at some point, almost 2 years ago now, and next month it'll be 2 years, that we were raided after a 6 or 7 month investigation by the VPD, and I was charged, along with a couple of my colleagues, of selling without a license. They pled out. So they got a few hours of community service while they got to smoke weed, cleaning up the streets, and being good citizens, which they do anyway. And me, I'm not taking that deal. They would give it to me. In fact, The deal they want to give me is just write a letter saying you're sorry, telling us why it was wrong what you did. Well, that ain't going to happen because that's not the truth, and I tell the truth. If I told the truth and wrote a letter like that, it would be about, I'm really sorry that the government is so corrupt and Health Canada is full of a bunch of corrupt pawns for the corporate interests of exploiting people for money and stuff. That's what I'd put in that letter. They might not like that very much, but I wouldn't do that. We will let a judge decide. Was I selling without a license? Pretty much. I did have both Health Canada tell me after the 3 months in our application that we would probably have licenses in early January, but they didn't say which January, and it certainly wasn't the first 3. And I did have City Council pass a motion to support us and tell us in a meeting that they would have licenses for us, but then they didn't. So I'm operating with licenses pending, but more than that, we're operating out of conscience and ethics, because it's not right to leave a dying person because some cop tells you to stop administering CP to him. I hope there's no judge that would convict somebody of doing that other than the cop. And that's what we're hoping. We're hoping Health Canada gets a real good wrist slap in here, and that the Cannabis Act is thrown out, because that's what has to happen. And that we have some sort of a public inquiry into what's happened here on this cannabis file, and that reason and truth come out of that. And farmers of all stripes get to grow cannabis if they want, and bring it to the marketplace at prices that work for them and the consumer. And that consumers have access with low barriers. That's what we're fighting for. That's where we are. We got kicked out of the store. We moved into an RV. We haven't stopped. We're here 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've been in the RV for 3 years and 4 months now. And we'll go visit the RV and see what's going on out there. But here's the CSP and what we're doing.
Let us grow hemp and save the planet too. You know?
Well, the semi-weekly THC weather report in Vancouver is that it's been a cold and drizzly day all day.
Yeah.
We did put the tent up because it was raining earlier. But this is where we are. Instead of having a store that people could go into and with a bit of dignity be able to get what they need for themselves, we're stuck in an RV where people have to stand out in the cold and the rain to get what they need for themselves. It's been a really, really disgusting display of such deep-rooted corruption that it can't even break through when it is so obvious that this helps people, this saves people's lives, and this should be supported by government. It is so obvious. We're going to make it obvious in court coming up here, and we'll see what a judge has to say. We realize they're paid a couple $100,000 or $250,000 a year to do what the government basically tells them to do, much as they like to speak differently of that. That's pretty much the way it is. The judges will bow to the parliamentarians, and they'll say, well, the majority of people in Canada voted in this government, and therefore this is what the people want. Well, the majority of Canadians have never voted in a government. Maybe the majority of people that voted in certain governments, but not the majority of people. And the governments are not bound to do what it is they're voted in to do in any case. And we all know that the best definition of a liar that we have is politicians.
Yeah.
That they can tell one group of people out of one side of their face what they want to hear, and then turn to this other group of people and spew the complete opposite, because that's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And really all they're doing is not anything for this group, and not anything for this group. They're doing everything for the group that put them there, that's in behind them, that's going to look after them after they're out of office. And that is the corporate elite. So in any case, we'll see what a judge says anyhow. What other choice do we have?
You're going in?
So this is what you find when you come to the CSP. It's not a real nice storefront or anything. It doesn't have air conditioning or heat. It's just got a couple of pretty impersonal windows that we can, almost like you're in a prison cell and they're handing you your food, We got to keep the peasants away from the people. I mean, it's just terrible. We've had lots of break-ins, so many smashed windows. It's a weed van, you know, it sits here at the same spot all the time, and maybe some people think there's stuff in there to steal. We don't leave stuff in there to steal, but they break in anyway from time to time.
To check.
And just to check. Or, you know, somebody comes in from out of town, hey, what's this?
What's this? Let's break into this.
Let's break into this. So, some guy even wrote, you know, tried to, I don't know if you see, I've come over here behind the tree.
Tried to write something?
Some guy putting a pot leaf on a...
Well, all right, well.
Leave my RV alone. I don't want a pot leaf on it.
They scared him off.
Scared him off. But,
all right.
But still, you know, for anybody walking by, hey, what's this RV about? Oh, there's a pot leaf on it. Maybe there's weed in there. Because people like weed. Yeah. People will go to great lengths to get weed. They'll spend all kinds of dollars to buy it, and if they can steal it, many people will. Not most people. Most people are much better than that. But there's an element of our society that'll steal whatever they think is valuable, and because the government has made cannabis so valuable that you're at risk if you have it. That's why if you're a farmer and you're going to grow cannabis, the government makes you put up level 5 security around your road.
Yeah, I know.
Because, you know, people will go to great lengths to steal that cannabis. That cannabis isn't worth the price of gold and diamonds and other things. Not that diamonds should be worth what they're worth either. That's a whole other story. But if everybody could grow cannabis, if all farmers could grow cannabis, we would have a glut of cannabis. There would be too much cannabis. The price would go down and down and down. And you know, and then people wouldn't go to great lengths to break into farms to steal produce. You know, we don't have people, well, we have some people stealing blueberries, but not a lot. Nobody's stealing cabbage or cucumbers or anything like that. Not nobody, but you know what I mean. There's no big organized crime organizations like we had just yesterday at the post office. 3 masked men broke in there broke into the post office and stole a bunch of their stuff.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, that's a whole other thing. I'm
wow,
Well. It's Neil in the Wells. How are you? Never better. Sit here. The lighting's better, so I'll sit here.
Actually, nice.
Dexter and Adam doing their thing in the RV here. How is the day going?
Pretty good. Yeah. Hello, everyone. You look well.
You gotta say hi to her.
Hello, dear.
Can I get one of those joints?
One of these ones? All right. Don't tell anybody.
Thank you so much.
Did you pay for that?
No.
There you go. So this is what we do. Most of the people that come here...
You're not mad at me?
Jeff says hi.
No. I'm not. We love giving joints to people that need a joint. Are you kidding me? Anybody out there that smokes weed has gone through a time in their life when they didn't have a joint and what they would have done to get that joint? Oh my goodness. And if some person came along and said, hey, you want a free joint? Wow.
Or do you want to smoke a joint with me? Yeah.
Right?
And a friend is made right there and then, usually.
That's right.
You know, and it doesn't happen very often, usually, either. So, we love what we do here, and the people love what we do here. But honestly, most of the people that come to the window, they're just looking for the free joint or the free edible. It gets a little bit out of hand. It's very hard to keep up with all that. And we don't think everybody should get a free joint and a free edible. We think the people that need it should get it.
Yeah.
That because we sell joints for $1, we sell edibles for $2.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
If you got $1 or $2, you know, buy it off of us, and then at least it helps cover the cost.
Okay, $5.
But because hundreds of people come here thinking that everybody gets a free joint, we're having a hard time keeping up.
Yeah.
So you probably saw the sign out front there. It says, you know, if you can't afford $1 or $2, then
Hi dear, how are you today?
it says please don't ask for a free joint or edible if you can afford $1 or $2. That we don't get funding from government or anybody else, and we're having a hard time keeping up. Has that sign helped? You think it's helped?
A little bit.
Yeah. That's good. We needed to cut it down a bit. It was getting to be too much.
It cuts down how much I have to say, because I can be like, okay, I can do that. If I ever get 10
Nice.
See? Like now.
There you go.
Just read the sign, please.
Yeah, and then if you qualify, if you can't afford $1 or $2, we love giving you joints.
Enjoy this.
We want to give joints. We love giving joints to all the people that can't afford it, for sure, 100%. That's a wonderful thing and a wonderful part of what we do. It grates on us a little bit when people that can obviously afford it they still want to get the free stuff, even though we're paying for it or I'm paying for it.
Having a hard time sometimes keeping up, you know. We deal with a lot of people in a day.
We do.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what's going on. This is what we do. We'll keep doing it, and I'll keep reporting on it as best I can as we move towards our court dates. We're in court the end of March coming up. I'll give you those dates in next week's show.
26th, 27th, and 28th, I do believe.
All right. Somewhere right around that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll clarify
24,
that.
25, and 26.
Yeah, you know, it's somewhere. It's in the 20s anyway.
Yeah.
And
usually 4, but I'll give it to you.
and if the Crown is successful in being able to prove their case that I was selling without a license, then it'll go to the main court case.
You're welcome.
In that court case, we get to present our evidence in full.
Why you were doing that?
With our witnesses and all the rest of it, which we don't get to do during the preliminary hearing.
Awesome.
The preliminary hearing is about the Crown's case.
Okay.
Does the Crown have a good enough case
that's super cool.
to prove their charge? We think that they do, and that it should go to the second real court case in July, where we get to present our evidence as to why it is that we think we were doing the right thing, that we think it's Health Canada and the federal government that should be taken to task for being extremely criminally negligent in not supporting one of the best harm reduction initiatives during this public health emergency. And I believe we're going to do a great job of doing that, because we're doing a great job of doing that. So we'll be able to express that to a judge. Hopefully I will be able to properly express that to a judge. And, you know, between myself and my amazing lawyer, Jack Lloyd, I think we can accomplish our goals there. And then maybe I can retire to some degree or something like that. But in any case, that's the journey that we're on. That's the journey we're going to stay on until we see it to the end. And I thank you for being part of it, and for coming and watching the show, for sharing it out all over the place, which happens, and for taking the torch as well, because we need everybody on this. This is a very serious and important facet of how we move into the future, and whether or not our children and their children are going to be in a world where they're free and public servants protect those rights, or whether they are going to be oppressed like we have all been, and the corporations get the service of our public sector. So join the team. It's a great deal of fun to do that. You know, if you've identified a problem in society and you have something that might help with a solution, then doing that is the essence of a good life lived. And you feel that as you're doing it. So if you haven't done any of that, I highly recommend it. I imagine most people know what I'm talking about. But we need everybody on this one. We need to keep on going until we get that proper legalization that we've been fighting for all this time, where the poor people also have good, reasonable access, and the sick people also have good, reasonable access. And there are no more penalties for pot. No criminalization of anybody for anything to do with pot. That's the world that we need to get to. It's going to take a lot of us to get there. I hope you're with me. So go about your life doing what's important to you. Be kind to all the people around you, and especially those that it's hardest to be kind to. Don't pile on those poor people. They're doing the best they can. We all are. Life is too short to take too seriously. Help those that need help. Help yourself. Be kind to everybody else. And most important, as always, have as much fun as you can. I'll see you next week.